What was the worst gift you received for Christmas? Removed. They couldn't even be bothered to find actual coal. Removed. I'm not sure how to respond to that. My divorced parents pooled their money to buy me a Game Boy Color. The problem was they'd already got me a Game Boy Color. But I guess they didn't understand that it was the same one and thought it was new. They both looked so excited as I opened it I didn't have the heart to tell them. So I just kept playing my one game on my new Game Boy Color. That my one game felt like a punch to gut. My sympathies, but also kudos to you for sparing your parents' feelings. How old were you? When I still lived with my parents, they got me a Cards Against Humanity deck. Right after I opened it, they told me I'm not allowed to play it until I turned 18. I was 15 at the time. Probably didn't think it was that bad until they started reading it. I am going to answer for my sister. When I was about 5, making her 9, our uncle, aunt, cousin family asked me what my sister liked. I had no idea. All I knew was she liked to yell at me. So I dumbly replied she liked hair ties. For Christmas that year my sister received an assortment of an insanely high number. Like 200 different high ties. Scrunches. She didn't let me live that down for a long time. Lol, what is it about family discovering one detail about a kid and making out like it's their biggest passion? I used to have an ornithologist come to speak with our class once a fortnight because our primary school teacher was really into birds. So I learned a lot about birds. Except, I wasn't really into birds. But my parents told everybody how cute it is that I know so much about birds. For the next couple of birthdays and Christmases, all I got was bird books. So many books about birds. It's been 20 years and I still absolutely hate birds. Book about how to take criticism. Gifted by my mother-in-law. This seems like an easy one to throw back in her face. Let me critique your gift-giving ability. When I was 15, I really wanted a dog. My mum knew this. Cue Christmas morning. After we had opened any other presents, my mum came back with one last one. It was a wrapped box with holes in the sides. Bouncing, moving some. And puppy barks of cuteness. I got so excited to open it and meet my new best friend. When I opened it, it had a stuffed animal puppy, not taxidermized, a bumbleball toy, and a small tape recorder with puppy barks. My heart sank and I just sat there and cried. Toothpaste. Apparently it wasn't even that my breath stank. We were just out of toothpaste. Useful at least. My mum took me to her boyfriend's family Christmas party in rural Michigan once. Someone gave me the year in Clemson football, 1993. It was very nice that someone thought enough to give me a gift, but 9-year-old me really struggled with the logic behind the purchase. He's a kid. Kids like football, right? Years back my cousin bought me a rifle case. I had never owned a gun nor expressed interest in it. Just an empty rifle case. A gun rack. A gun rack. I don't even own a gun. Let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. What am I gonna do with a gun rack? We had a secret Santa with the whole family and everyone usually goes a bit overboard even though it's supposed to be a relaxed thing. One year my uncle from California was able to make it and we included them. His wife wanted all her kids to be added as well so they would revive something. One of her kids ended up drawing my name for it, and when she gave me my gift on behalf of them, she bought me a $5 lead pencil and pen, and another of her kids drew my mom's name, and then she said, "Oops, I didn't get you anything yet. I thought it was supposed to be done on New Year's Eve." While her kids got giant dollhouses and trikes. What the fuck, that's a big asshole move. Remember once when I was 10 or so we did Secret Santa in class and my best friend back then was randomly assigned to make me a gift. He got me right in the feels. He got me a $20 Minecraft figurine set. The teacher said the max was $5. But he still went for it. He knew I really wanted it. But our family was pretty poor and I couldn't get it. What a legend. I would love to hang out with him again. When I was 13 I was taking drum lessons and was desperate for my own kit. My mum worked at the Early Learning Center, preschool age kids shop for non-UK chaps. Mum and dad got me this little plastic toy drum and made me play a tune on it. I tried my best not to look upset. I failed and stopped just short of bursting into tears. Turned out to be a sick joke. The drums were wrapped up in the dining room. It's a fun joke when they actually got you the real thing. It's a mean joke if they didn't. My parents got me an acoustic guitar one Christmas. Problem: my brother was the one who asked for a guitar, not me. So essentially my Christmas present was seeing my brother absolutely gutted. Meanwhile I had to pretend I was happy. Awkward. Update: I shared the guitar with my brother while I pretended to enjoy learning to play it. This lasted for about a month before I let my bro completely take over the guitar. He got his own electric guitar that same year for his birthday. Took guitar lessons. Joined a band. The whole shebang. He still plays to this day. 17 years later. Me? I hate playing guitar. Hurts my fingers. Did he at least end up using the guitar? When I was in 6th grade in 1995 my parents got me a CD case. I didn't have any CDs. I got a knockoff Discman one year. I didn't own any CDs. I grew up really poor and received some batteries for an old toy car I already had lol. Looking back at it it's kind of funny but I remember crying when that happened. I was 7. My dad would always wrap any required batteries for presents separately. He'd also decide what order we opened things in and always had us open the battery presents first. With no idea what they would go to. Thanks for reminding me of a quirky memory. Deleted. Sorry. Industrial grade? I got an empty box of a toy I really wanted. I was 9. Bro. That's seriously terrible. You okay now? Grandma got me a pair of jeans that were way too small with a card that read lose some weight. Then maybe you will fit into these. I was beyond furious. And our relationship was never the same. I didn't shed a tear when she passed away. Should have given her an urn and told her maybe she'll fit in it soon. Piles and piles and piles of Star Trek tots when I was like 10 or something. Star Trek action figures. Star Trek micro machines. Die-cast Star Trek ships. Star Trek puzzles. Star Trek toys. Star Trek everything. I asked for Star Wars toys. Reminds me of how for years I told my entire family I love Star Trek and want Star Trek toys and I would constantly get Star Wars themed stuff from my extended family. I hadn't seen a single Star Wars movie other than A New Hope until this month. My non-favorite grandparents once gave me a Peter Parker doll when I was like 17. I mean a doll too. I could undress him if I so pleased. He didn't come with a Spidey costume either haha. I would want to undress Peter Parker. My mum got me a roll of toilet roll with a bunch of lame jokes on them. In theory it's probably the best present for 2020. Those precious items are worth millions here in 2020. My grandmother was a piece of work. One year myself and my 2 cousins were at her house for Christmas morning. All the family was there and there was a big, gorgeous pile of presents wrapped in the corner. Me and my cousins were promptly told that those gifts were for the other grandchildren. When we gave our grandmother blank stare of confused children, she hurried back into her room, threw an old Ziploc bag down at the ground between us, full of half-used nail polish and broken jewelry and told us Merry Christmas. Sounds like my dad's last stepmom. She had tears of children and grandchildren. My dad and all his children were always firmly at the bottom. A record player that only worked for 2 weeks. I knew I was getting it since November. I didn't want nor need it, but I accepted it to be nice. It was kinda funny because my parents trolled me by spreading out the records in boxes of different shapes and sizes. When I was 5 or 6 I gave my brother his own teddy bear. I wanted to give him something I knew he'd love so a week before Christmas I hid his favorite bear and wrapped it up. He was upset that he couldn't find his bear but even more upset on Christmas when he realized the reason he couldn't find his bear was because his dumbass brother thought it would make a good Christmas present. My aunt got my mum a wine glass that holds an entire bottle of wine. My mum is diabetic. Yeah, to toss in my 2 cents as diabetic. I wouldn't really be thrilled with something like that either. Maybe try use it as a gag, little bit of wine in a huge glass, or repurpose it in some way. But it's certainly never going to meet its intended use and it kind of just sucks when people underestimate or misunderstand the dietary restrictions caused by diabetes. It wouldn't be a fun reminder of that. The same exact scent of Axe stuff my grandma gets me every year. Fuck Axe. I skipped over scent of the first time and I thought your grandma was a Viking. Deleted. My mum was kinda like that also. We were poor so she would buy things on clearance all year long to tuck away for Christmas so that it looked like we got a lot of stuff but it was always just stuff that nobody else wanted which was why it was on clearance and usually lame stuff, like jigsaw puzzles or unpopular toys. I would have rather got one gift that was something I wanted than 10 cheap clearance toys that I didn't like. More is not better when it's more of what you don't like and didn't even want. She does the same thing with my nieces and nephews too. Always buying them a pile of unwanted toys that never get played with. She never learned that kids don't get joy from unwrapping disappointment. My little sister who collected Beanie Babies used to give me. Who did not collect Beanie Babies? Beanie Babies. I wonder why. A couple years ago my dad registered me to see a few of my favorite shows taped in NYC. I got super excited about it but then realized that he wouldn't be paying for anything and expected me to stay with my narcissistic grandma in New Jersey who I avoid as much as possible. Then I found out that not only were the tickets to see the tapings free, but he had already told my grandma I'd be staying with her and she had all sorts of yard work and stuff ready for me to do for her once I arrived. Obviously, I didn't go and my dad is still bitter that I didn't appreciate his gift. My grandma also has plenty of yard work and tech stuff to do for her as well but she also shovels delicious food down my throat and tries to sneak money into my backpack or wallet. She also asks a million times if I'm tired and need to stop when I'm doing the work. One year my parents and all of my aunts, uncles, and grandparents gave me scented lotion. I guess they all thought that's what you get 14-year-old girls. This is why I always made my kids do a list with a specific top 5. 10 Bibles. Not all at once, but every year from the time I was 6 through 16. My uncle gave me a Bible for Christmas. Every single year. Did he think you were losing them? Maybe he thought it was rewritten every year and changed. That is just a weird gift. You should have wrapped up the previous year's gift and given it to him. A set of salt and pepper shakers. The gifts were donated to us and I don't know how they forgot my parents had 4 kids. We're not friends anymore and haven't been for more than 10 years now. However, we were very close from ages 12 to 25. One Christmas when we were 18 her present to me was a wrapped up VHS tape I had loaned her years before and she had forgotten it was actually my tape of Wayne's World I was now getting back as she tried to pass it off as an actual gift. I got a fake beer can full of handkerchiefs when I was like 14. That's the most random gift I've ever heard of. My mum uses Christmas presents to tell us where she thinks we rank in the family. One year she got me a woman's coat. I'm a middle-aged man. Another year she got all the grandkids pajamas. She got me the same thing. Kids pajamas sized small. I'm 6'1" and almost 200 pounds. Hey mum, I got your gift right here in my pocket. L. It's a bird. My parents didn't buy me anything this Christmas. We were spreading out the present unwrapping either side of Christmas dinner, which my sister and I made, and I'd opened a present from my siblings and one from my ex-boyfriend. When we got back to the presents after eating I realized there was nothing left for me to open. Edit. Thank you for the hugs award. It's my first day on Reddit and my first award. Edit. And thank you for my second award. Damn. Ouch. My grandfather's suicide note in a card to my family. Naturally we called and got to his place as fast as we could. He was gone by the time we got there. You know, most suicidal people view their suicide as a way of relieving themselves from other people. As a way of removing the burden of their personhood from the people they care about. Your grandfather's death, may he rest in peace, is an object lesson in why that logic doesn't scan. XGF gave me book on the history of gunpowder. I admit I enjoyed it as it was an interesting read. Problem was, I had already read it 2 months prior, because she had already given me a copy as my birthday gift. My BFF got 3 copies of a book, because I 100% forgot I bought it for her. It was on a subject she is interested in and I have memory problems. The funny thing is, she wasn't gonna tell me after the second one. I found the first one in her room like a week later and was horrified. I got her a different book and traded, and then bought it a third time because it had a new cover. She did tell me that time. Just because she thought it was hilarious. Again, I traded it out for a new book. But now I generally make her send me a wish list and just pick something off that for her. One year for Christmas my aunt gave identical cuckoo clocks to my parents, my brother, and me and my husband. It was just confusing. We've never asked her about it. Put the cuckoo clock in your guest bedroom. This works wonders to keep guests from overstaying their welcome. Toilet paper that for some reason was stained yellow on one side. My grandmother's sister is a nutter for Christmas presents. One year I had a coloring book off. Designed to teach 6-year-olds to color in the lines. I was 19. When I was 20, I had a small box of alcohol chocolates off her. My mother looked at them and said they looked familiar. She also ended up getting one. That's when she remembered where she saw them. 2 for 1 in Poundland XD. Edit. Thanks for the likes. Wasn't expecting this to get so many points. Also thank you for the many innuendos for Poundland. A motherfucking flask. Had been sober just over 2 years at that point and it was widely known. Fuck you Jeff. 4 years on 10/18. Edit. Thank you so much for all the support. Jeff is my fill and because of health reasons only. Has switched to a strict wine and clear liquor only regimen. He said no more of that nasty brown stuff. It just isn't any good for you. I nodded. Seriously though. Thank you. I recently decided to go to some sort of AA and I think this response kindness support kind of confirms it for me, so thank you for that last push. Mood lipstick. Edit. Just saw that they sell these again. Bro. I got mine when I was 8. For Christmas. From my bitchy grandmother and that's all I got. Whereas my cousin's multiple presents I felt slighted. Deleted. Deleted. You must be at least 93. I got a chessboard. That's okay. Except that I was just about to go backpacking for 6 months plus and had given up my apartment. It was an unusually large chessboard. Made of glass. And with all glass pieces. It didn't come with any kind of storage or carry case. Just the cardboard and styrofoam packaging. Also, I don't play chess. I was like wow thanks for the burden. I have less than a week to regift this or it's going in the trash. Once I was asking my son his opinion on the Roomba vacuum cleaner. He told me that they were great but to make sure not to get a knockoff as he had gotten one a few years before and it was shit. Fast forward a couple of years. Christmas comes and I get a used knockoff Roomba from him. I was laughing so hard he asked me why. I had to remind him of our previous conversation that he had forgotten. Every time my mum went on holiday she would bring back a shark tooth necklace to give me for a birthday or Christmas present. I have no idea why. I had never worn jewelry of any kind and I am the antithesis of a surfer dude. She's trying to coax you into a surfer dude personality. One time my cousin got me some tampon flasks. Fake tampons you can put liquor in so you can sneak it, but I'm a guy. I guess I could put them in my ass but I don't want to. Edit. To clarify the confusion. I did think women inserted them to sneak them in. You aren't supposed to actually insert them anywhere. Granted I don't know how the guy is going to explain carrying around spare tampons. Unless you are regularly going somewhere with a female friend or so. Every year, my grandma would send me clothing for a 6-year-old. Seems like the concept of my brother and I actually growing escaped her. After a few years of this, my mum got tired of her wasting her money on this and told her to just send my mum the money and she would buy the gift. Just send a card. I wanted a PS2. They gave me a little brother instead. What the hell mum and dad? The PS2 would have been way cheaper. The little brother can't play DVDs. He didn't even come with any game cheats. My boyfriend, who is manly AF and is into music, guitars, and skateboarding, got an emoji pillow from his parents one year. He said exactly this proves how out of touch my parents are with my life. And how little they actually care about me. It was quite sad but funny how they got him a fucking emoji pillow. I guess it wasn't bad, it was just a total WTF. I got a large wall-mounted bracket hung clock. I did not ask for it and have no interest in collecting clocks. It was strange. Are you late very often? Sort of a bittersweet memory. When I was 8 or so my mum and dad split up and my mum had custody of my sisters and I. We were really poor so all she could afford to buy us was what she could buy with food stamps. She got us stuff that we normally couldn't get like sugary cereals and other junk food and wrapped them up so that we'd have presents to open. At the time it was great because it was all stuff we never really got as kids, but looking back it sort of makes me cringe at just how poor and struggling we were. I guess I wouldn't really say it was the worst gift to me at the time. But I think a lot of people take things like that for granted and we'd be very disappointed if they got a box of cereal for Christmas. Deleted. That was pre-planned. You could have thrown a parade for it and she would do the same. A bitchy relative that's now estranged, her choice, thought my interest in art as a high schooler was juvenile. One year, she and her husband got me a giant pack of Prismacolor pencil crayons. Which was awesome. He looked up what an artist could use and sought them out for me. Super sweet. Guess she didn't like that, so she made me open a package of children's crayons first as a joke gift and took a bunch of photos, saying little kids who like to color get little kid presents. Well, despite being embarrassed in front of a ton of people, I loved both my fancy Prismacolors and my Crayolas. Your bitch. I got a ketchup packet from McDonald's as a gift. What did you do with that? Removed. 15 cardboard bricks, all individually wrapped. Not me, but happened to my mum, and she told the story many times. One Christmas all of her 6 siblings opened up presents under the tree, but there was nothing for her. When she asked about it, her parents told her that they had just gotten her a new coat. The cost was bought months before. The next year there were so many presents for her under the tree, but as she started unwrapping she realized that they had just wrapped random things around the house and again did not get her a present. I still don't understand how they could be so cruel. My mother and both of her parents have passed now. My grandma told me my mum was a whore on Christmas Day and told me to go home cause I look too much like her and she didn't need that right now. I was 10 years old. I've never felt close to her, but I've hated her ever since. I have plenty more examples, but that would be needed in its own post. The more she tries to do anything really, it makes me hate her more. Edit. Thank you kind stranger for the hugs. Smiling face with smiling eyes and hugging hands. One day my brother and I arrive home from high school. My mum is all stoked. She says she bought us an early Christmas gift. There's a Christmas bag on the table. My brother and I knew this couldn't be good. My mum wrapped the aluminum can pipes my brother and I used to smoke weed from, which we failed to hide. She sniffed it out like a bloodhound. She was passive aggressive like that. A bottle of Korean alcohol that tasted like drain cleaner. Fairly certain it was hand sanitizer. And my brother didn't know the difference. I got underwear as a gift when I was a kid. If someone gave me underwear for Christmas now, I'd be so excited. I have an uncle who has never been good at gifts for me. At one point I was really into cool tools. They were just toy tools that were fun to play with. At the age of like 7 he gave me an actual tool set because he thought toy tools were a stupid toy. Would be a great gift now. But at the age of 7 I had no use and I'm not sure whatever happened to them. The worst one was when I was like 9 for Christmas. They gave me a couple pocket knives. They weren't even meant to be used. They came in a wood box that you were just supposed to keep them in there and put them on a shelf or something. I had no use for them and one time sliced my finger pretty good fucking with them. I got a tool set when I was about 7. Took everything in the house apart and put it back together. Mostly. For my birthday a few months later my mum had a guy from the local gas station bring me a complete engine that they were junking. I spent the next several months learning how to take it apart. Best presents I ever got. And I am still into working on cars today. Well, not a bad gift, but what happened to them afterwards? My dad was married to an evil woman. She was literally the wicked stepmother. We got a bunch of cool gifts and games and she later destroyed them because she got mad at me for nothing really. She was a psycho. She always hated my brother and I. I was 16. I was doing my art class and I kept taking the scissors from the kitchen because it involved a lot of cutting and sticking. My mum got super annoyed with me. I have 2 older brothers. One had recently moved into uni, so he got some sheets with a world map in it. Something he was very interested in at the time, and an expensive rucksacks for his uni work. The other brother had just recently landed a new job. So he got some posh shoes and some merino wool jumpers. In total, their presents probably cost about £100 to £200 each and all of them were beautifully wrapped. Me? I got handed a plastic bag. Inside was a pair of £3 scissors. I received nothing else at Christmas. I had just started dating someone. I did not expect anything from this person's parents, other than hello, here is the eggnog. They apparently walked down the totes aisle and bought me one of everything. Spent probably close to $75. They didn't know me, and it was a wild misfit. I get the kindness, but it was weird as hell. All went to charity, so, not a bad thing, but I'd have settled for eggnog. Totes aisle. My mum gave me a mermaid tail blanket last Christmas. Edit, DM if you actually wanna buy it off me. It comes with a drawstring backpack and everything. Those look super cool actually. Especially if you could somehow hold it up with suspenders and hop around in it. No, I'm not 12. When I was under 14, I forget the exact age, My parents gave me a Disney-themed photo album with special scissors designed to cut in creative ways, meant to be used to customize your photos. This was back when the only way to get the same set of photos printed more than once was to develop your own film. They were very disappointed that I showed no excitement at the prospect of mutilating my own photographs. Deleted. A family friend gave me a XL t-shirt for a college that I didn't go to. It wasn't even like a popular or nearby college or anything. Also I'm average sized and generally wear mediums. While I would understand a size off, I feel like it's kinda obvious that I would not need an XL. Not me, but my dad gave my mum a scale after her last pregnancy. Ouch. A carton of cigarettes. The old man grabbed me and said, "Hey, smoke up, Johnny." When I was about 10, my grandma had sent presents from overseas for us to open. My brother opened his first and it was a really cool, old school toy. I opened mine and it was a bunch of doilies. I literally cried, I was so disappointed. What the fuck a 10-year-old was supposed to do with doilies is beyond me. It's still a family joke, at least it's better than doilies. I got a gift card to a restaurant that closed down in my city. My mum had this thing when I was growing up to where she had to prove she treated us absolutely equal. So she would buy me and my sister the exact same things. Takes a lot of joy out of it when halfway through you know what all your presents are cause your sister has opened her ones too. The other thing is, she would pick and choose from each list. She would exclusively buy from my sisters. She had really curly hair. So one year we got matching hair straighteners. My hair is naturally dead straight. Every year my sister wanted nice soaps. Only I'm allergic to most soaps due to sensitive skin. So instead of being perfectly equal she ended up just proving me right and favoring my sister even more. Your mum wouldn't have been good to hear the phrase equal is not always fair. Not me, but my sister. My grandma got her a fruitcake once. As a joke. We'd re-gift it to everyone in the family. Edit. I did not realize how many people have done this. Specifically with fruitcake. 3 individual socks. For my birthday in February I received 3 more socks to complete what I assume was the pack of 3 pair. These came from my aunt and uncle who regularly take 6-week vacations around the globe. Small boy's clothes and I'm a girl. Dad has been absent but I didn't expect him to mistake my gender. The drunk fucker. And because I was a child, it made it worse. A Christmas card with a bill inside. From a doctor's office. I guess they figured I wouldn't just toss a card. A pair of socks that I had left at my grandma's place. I got a bowling ball once. It had my name engraved on it. It was purple, my favorite color, and came with a certificate for a custom fitting to my hand. Only problem, I don't bowl. Drawer liners. Tartan drawer liners. Literally 4 or 3 pieces of tartan printed paper. Slippers made out of menstrual pads. From my grandfather. I was 13 and humiliated. What the fuck kinda gift is that? Baby clothes. I wasn't pregnant. Wasn't trying to be pregnant. Had no children and was quite slim so there's no chance I even looked like maybe I was pregnant. Never plucked up the courage to ask for an explanation. They were trying to pressure you into having kids. I was 9 or 10. My aunt asked me if I wanted a calligraphy pen set. Having horrible handwriting despite arduous and extensive practice enforced by a despotic teacher who kept me in at recess to make me practice and then scolded me for making a mess of my efforts. I very adamantly said number. My aunt tried to convince me I would like one. My cousins called her Aunt Bossy. I even more adamantly repeated that I did not want one. For Christmas she gave me a calligraphy pen set. The next year she gave me a trash can. Message received. But I preferred the trash can. It was useful. My dad and stepmom got me an Xbox One that my dad sold shortly after, for no reason and kept that money and shortly after, used that money to buy my younger brother a PS4. And I also got underwear and socks. While my younger siblings, all about at least 10 years younger than me, got hundreds, or even thousands of dollars worth of stuff minimum, each. And there's 3 of them total. I'm not saying this to sound spoiled, but the bias here was insane. It was rough to watch my siblings open stuff for a couple hours when I was done in 5 seconds. I know but you got an Xbox yo. Yay, one I didn't use cause I don't live at my dad's house. I go like 2 times a year. And again. He sold it to buy my younger turd brother a PS4. I was living in my car. Due to being an unwise young person with no life skills, my mother came by my car on Xmas and gave me a lifeboat emergency kit and a card. This would have been kind. Except I wasn't on drugs or a criminal, just not sure what to do with life. And my 19-year-old brother still lived with her, and she bought him a car for that holiday. She admits that she just did it because she thought it would be ironically humorous. In other words, homeless people are funny, even when family members. Worst gift ever. My dad unexpectedly picked me up for Christmas one year and we stopped at a Walgreens to pick up a last-minute gift for my sister who came into town unannounced. My dad gave me $10 and said to pick something out for her. I chose an alarm clock as it was something I figured she could use and it was kind of cool looking. I didn't know how to wrap gifts yet, so I gave it to my stepmom so she could do it. Next morning everyone is opening gifts. My brother gets a watch. My sister gets a bunch of Adidas clothes and I got the alarm clock I picked out the night before, and all my dad could say was "you picked it out." My sister ended putting the sweatshirt she got in a gift bag and gave it to me after she found out what happened. My mum got me the same Maze Runner book 2 Christmases in a row. This will probably make me seem ungrateful, but I didn't read it both times. I got math textbooks for grade 4 when I was in grade 6 from my grandfather. My aunt likes to go to the kitchen supply store in the outlet mall near her for Christmas gifts. I've ended up with some great things. Stock pots, cute bowls, etc. But there have been years where it's taken hours of googling to figure out what the object was. Like this narrow odd pot. We couldn't tell if it was a tea kettle or for some specific use. It's a really odd little thing, especially to get as a gift. https://www.cunraconshop.com 4th Burno pot 12 cup KHN plus 4200. HTML. Kjid equals cooking and opined from equals category. Funnels. A few years back we were celebrating at my in-laws and my wife's sister had been on a sewing kick. She made nice fleece blankets each with different designs. Everyone was super happy with theirs, and then it came to me. She handed me a plastic shopping bag and inside were 2 little plastic funnels. With a big shit-eating grin she looks at me and says, "You like cooking, right?" I would have preferred nothing at all. Being forgotten is better than having to swallow that in front of family. Last family Christmas we celebrated. My grandmother made my cousins blankets. I got a candle from Walmart that was unscented. I'd rather get nothing. I asked my grandma for a Cowboys hat, meaning Dallas Cowboys, and she got me a real cowboy hat. 14-year-old me acted excited and wore it the whole time I was around her. I love puppetry and am very interested in both the physical mechanics and the performance aspects of it. When my mum found this out a few years ago, she tried to be supportive by giving me puppets. Children's hand puppets. Not only were they not at all what I'm interested in, but they also didn't fit on my hands, so I couldn't have used them even if I wanted to. When I was a teen, shortly after my cat died, a friend of the family got me one of those spiky scrubby things you put by your door for wiping mud or shit off your shoes. It was in the shape of a cat. She said she heard my cat died and thought I could use a replacement. I had to sneak off to my room to cry. I had just spent a day or so cleaning and organizing my spice rack. I handmade labels and really put effort into it. My partner at the time saw me doing all this work, and yet Christmas morning under the tree was a fucking spice rack. It's been sitting in the box for like 4 years. For my son's birthday one year I baked the cake and decorated it. I hated the experience and struggled so much I was up until 4 AM the night before the party finishing it. I was very vocal the whole party that I was never doing that again. My stepmom decided the perfect Christmas gift for me that year because of the cake I made was everything needed to start my own cupcake business. Why cupcakes? Because apparently nobody serves cakes at parties anymore. I absolutely hated making that one cake, so why on earth would I want to make dozens of mini cakes? I had so many cupcake pans and carrying cases and decorating supplies. And I only used it all once when I let my kids make cupcakes and then gave it all away. Deleted. My mother bought me a Kindle one year. Problem was, she used my Amazon account to find one. So several months before I asked about it, she said it was for my niece. I said cool. I just want you to know I have no interest in a Kindle. I read ebooks on my phone or laptop. But she wanted a Kindle. So after I opened the thing, she very quickly goes, "Oh, if you don't like it, I could always use it." so I guess technically, I got nothing. I got my brother's gifts for his activities. He skateboarded. He got a new board for Christmas. I got the wheels, whatever the metal part was called, and was expected to give them to him since I wouldn't use them. He got a drum set and got drumsticks and wasn't allowed to use the drums. Usually we were meant to share, but it wasn't activities both of us were interested in, and we never received gifts for my interests. A bottle opener, an empty box of Swiss chocolate and a comic of Jesus. I was 12. No gift. Our family started to get large with kids and spouses, so we started Secret Santa. Brother thought for some reason he got his wife, even though we said if you got your spouse you had to redraw, but he actually had me. My grandpa once got me a single collapsible traffic cone for Christmas. I don't know if anyone else's parents were like this, but my mum would ask me for a list of books I wanted every single year, and then she wouldn't buy a single book from the list and would just give me random ones that the person working at the bookstore insisted were going to be bestsellers. Like, I know it's petty of me, but why ask for a list in the first place, mum? So I stayed over at my friend's house for like a week, and I brought over a box of my favorite cereal. Then I accidentally left it there, and I kept forgetting to go get it, and my friend kept forgetting to give it back to me. So then for Christmas, my friend wrapped the box of cereal and gave it back to me. A trash can from my girlfriend. The end of the relationship wasn't much longer after that. Censored for wrongthink. A mason jar of sand from Dollar Tree. Still better than the 15 Christmases with nothing. But can't live up to the 2 years I got Pokemon cards. An orange. A fingernail clipper. And a blue comb. Not me, but my mum. When I was young, she didn't get presents. She had to buy it herself if she wanted something from her dad, and my dad was just an oblivious loser who didn't get her anything, even though she gave him one. One year I played around the old farm where there was a bunch of old junk. I found an old rusty candle holder shaped like an owl that I thought looked dope. I didn't realize it was stuff that was thrown out because my parents didn't want it. I gave it to my mum on Christmas. Later in my 20s I asked mum if she thought it was cringy. But she actually found it sweet that someone in the house finally thought about getting her a gift. I got honey bunches of oats once. On the upside, it was the first time I ever had it and it was pretty good. Another time, I got one of those really expensive Razor scooters from a family friend. Problem was that it was defective and wouldn't open. So my dad took me and the scooter to Costco to get it replaced. After my dad found out how much it cost, like $199 or something, he convinced me that he can get a better one elsewhere. Turns out how he bought a cheap $30 scooter from the swap meet and pocketed the rest. My stepdad's side would always play a dice game where there would be a bunch of presents in the middle of a table and you would roll a dice to see if you got a present. If you rolled right you could pick one out of the middle or steal someone else's, and you'd go till there weren't any more presents in the middle. I don't remember when it started, but there was a roll of toilet paper that would get wrapped up each year and reused as a present. Most of the time people would use a little bit of it, so each year it was getting smaller and smaller, and after a while it started getting yellowish. I got it a couple times unfortunately. As a young girl I got tons of crappy pink craft kits and die sets from the more distant relatives. I hated them and never opened most of them. They'd always be a mess of beads and string, and then next Christmas or birthday, I'd get another couple sets. One time I got Chick-fil-A ketchup packets and a box of razor blades. A little odd, but in context, I really dislike Chick-fil-A and that caused a bit of tension in my family who considers it their thing. I was also avidly self-harming at the time. Like hardcore self-harming. Like fuck this should have needed stitches. I cut down way into the fat stuff, and this was visible all over my body, which made the razor blades a bit fucked up to gift me. Also for context, my brother got, among other things, an Xbox and Apple Watch that Christmas. I'm not their favorite child. When I was 8 or 9, I was under the tree with my brother, trying to guess what the presents were based on their shapes. I got to one, and it felt distinctly like a toothbrush. I kinda laughed and said, "This one feels like a toothbrush. Who gives a toothbrush as a Christmas gift? That's the stupidest present ever." My dad suddenly looked hurt, and then got kind of defensive. Sure enough, the gift was, indeed, a toothbrush. And it was from my mum and dad. I learned later in life that my parents had fallen on really hard times financially, and they were struggling just to stay afloat. They were trying their best to give us a good Christmas and make sure we were cared for. I still feel guilty about that. I'm sorry I was such a douchebag kid. Dad. My brother bought me a little Tykes pirate ship when I was like 15. My sister bought me prenatal vitamins. I wasn't pregnant. For context, I'd expressed an interest in taking them because I'd heard they can make your skin glowy, nails strong, hair glossy, etc. The issue was that she knew it was the first time I was bringing a boyfriend over for Christmas. So he saw that and freaked out. My whole family kept joking about it. So the guy thought I was pregnant. He made up an excuse about taking presents out to my car. Then he drove off. Blocked me and everything. My younger brother got a Wii. I got a windshield ice scraper. My ex-boyfriend got me a laser hair remover because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome and I grow excess facial hair. He said my facial hair bothered him. Then he broke up with me and kept the laser. Stepdad's mum gave me a book about weight loss. When I was 12, for Christmas, I asked for an iPod because I loved music and had started saving up for one. So my father kept hinting that I shouldn't save because Santa is coming. So I spent my money on other things and decided to wait to Christmas. Flash forward to Christmas morning and there's a box that's iPod shaped. I literally screamed when I saw it. I was so happy. I ripped it open and it was just Pop-Tarts. My dad started laughing and said maybe we can go buy an iPod in the new year. And that's all he got me for Christmas that year. A box of Pop-Tarts. We ended up getting into a fight. And he told me none of my relatives actually loved me. I ended up being able to buy one the next year with babysitting money I saved. But yeah. I wouldn't say that they were bad gifts, but the most depressing Christmas that I remember was at my dad's one-bedroom apartment after my parents first got divorced. He was a truck driver and didn't have time to wrap anything. He also had no clue what I was into or the fact that I was 10. There were just tons of toys for children 5-7 laying on his kitchen table, next to his little plastic tabletop Christmas tree. I remember not being disappointed but just feeling sad and bad for my father for the first time. My mother promised that my sister and I would get a Christmas gift later. She told us this as we were wrapping up a whole lot of gifts for my cousins. By we it was my sister and I wrapping. My mother was in the corner smoking a cigarette and telling us that she got an unexpected bonus and bought gifts for my cousins but ran out of money so we would get something later on. My sister blanked out but eventually burst into tears when my mother started yelling that we were not moving fast enough and that they were going to start exchanging gifts soon. We never got a gift later on. Well, this was a classroom swap in first grade. It was Secret Santa. So we all had an assigned person. I had picked out a cool Swamp Thing coloring set, markers and all. Come time to swap gifts, I'm seeing everyone get some cool stuff. Then comes my turn. Plain pencils and a generic pencil box. I cried. My hopes were somewhat high, but the disappointment was even higher. My aunt got 3 small things and wrapped them before giving them to my sister, brother, and myself randomly. Those 3 things were always a box of chocolates, a box of cookies, and a bag of pistachios. I always ended up with the pistachios. I'm also the only one allergic to pistachios. It's not her fault for not knowing. We didn't really exchange gifts with their family. It was just a little something for the kids when we saw them around holidays for my uncle who was terminally ill. When I was 8, my grandfather got me a Trapper Keeper for Christmas. And after I unwrapped it, he told me to open it up. I opened it up and it was full of fancy panties. My family thought it was hilarious and all my older female cousins admitted they got the same thing at that age. It was pretty creepy. Oh, my husband is one of 6 siblings and they used to do a gift exchange, where you draw names, for Christmas. One year his oldest sister, late 30s, got him 2 left boots from Goodwill. Another year he got a trash bag full of used work uniforms from his brother who worked for the same company. Needless to say, when it was our year to host, I changed up the gift exchange process. Now you could end up with your own gift so people try a lot harder. I, a black female, received some very cheap Beyonce perfume from my white in-laws. I had never once mentioned anything about Beyonce around them in my many years of knowing them. A tiny gumball machine without gumballs and a knockoff Billy Bass. Travis the Trout I think it was. I was 16 at the time. Worst, best, gift I received was a clock radio when I was 10 years old, 1977. I was bummed at the time but quickly discovered late night FM. I listen to this day. My parents always knew my fascination for trucks and how bad I wanted to buy one. I kept getting truck related items one Christmas the year I turned 18. Socks, posters. They say they have one more gift for me. Hype it up saying they know how bad I want a truck and they wanted to surprise me and all the things you'd say to lead someone to believe they got you a truck. Well, they walk up, hands behind their backs, and boom. A toy model truck with a $100 bill in the bed of it. It was a very sweet kind-hearted joke but I definitely was a little disappointed. 2 years later and I finally bought my first truck. My parents gave me a kitten Christmas Eve. I was 8. It died Christmas Day morning. It was awful. No one realized it had been deathly ill. I'm a Christmas baby, so it was doubly awful. Around age 14-15 my aunt stopped getting me gifts like toys or clothes. Instead, I would receive a letter that says, "I just put $70 into a savings account for you that you can access when you go to college." This was also my birthday gift. So around $140 a year for 5-6 years. You'd think there was several $100 right for buying textbooks waiting for me. I was fine and grateful with this. But once the time came where I needed some of that money, I brought it up to my mum, who laughed in my face and told me there was never any account. I also found out when my grandma died this same aunt had been stealing money from her. I don't speak to her anymore. Every year my mother would get my younger sister and I all the exact same gifts, like matching scarves or the same doll. Sometimes there was a color variation. She meant well by doing this. She wanted us to always feel equal and never fight over our toys. But it was extremely annoying to watch my sister open a gift and know I would be opening the same thing a few seconds later. My sister and I were very different and 3 years apart in age. So sometimes I would get a toy I was way too old for. It made me feel like my mum didn't really care what my individual interests were. I was always part of a matching set.